corner office to build something that matters. You just need a plan, some grit, and the right conversations, and where best to be. Welcome to the Business Roundup, and good evening. I'm your host, Moureen Babirye. These are the top stories. Inaugural Africa We Build Summit in Nairobi focuses on infrastructure development. Central Corridor member states decry non-tariff barriers at annual STACON meeting. Parliament increases annual VAT registration threshold from 150 million to 300 million. And CNOC conducts first well control emergency drill at Kingfisher in preparation for fast oil. Let's talk business. President Yoweri Museveni was among African leaders, financiers, and investors who gathered in Nairobi for the inaugural Africa We Build Summit, which focused on unlocking domestic capital and turning infrastructure plans into bankable projects and jobs. A new infrastructure report released at the summit shows Africa has over $2 trillion in domestic capital, but much of it remains in short-term investments. Take a look.
This is such a moment for Africa, because the Africa of tomorrow will not be shaped by hope alone. It will be shaped by what we build, by what we finance, what we connect, what we process, and how we choose to do that now. The Africa our children will inherit will not be the one we hope for. It will be the one that we've intentionally built.
The status quo is that less than 35% of Africa's roads are paved, contributing to some of the highest logistics costs globally. Rail networks remain limited and often disconnected.
In Kenya, we have established a national infrastructure fund and are in the process of creating a sovereign wealth fund, following in the footsteps of some of our peers on the continent, including, I know, what has been done in Nigeria, Ghana, South Africa, and in many other places. Through these instruments, we aim to mobilize public and private, as well as domestic and foreign capital, to fund major priority projects in the tune of $40 billion over the next decade. For far too long, the economic destiny of our continent has been shaped by others. While historical injustices from colonialism to inequities in the global economic order are real, we must also acknowledge that other regions have faced similar challenges, but they have risen above them. We're not the only ones that have faced these challenges. We are constrained, however, only by the extent that we accept the status quo through acquiescence, complacency, and limited ambition.
Because we are talking of interregional infrastructure. But how will you have interregional infrastructure if there are wars going on? And these wars are based on ideological bankruptcy. In my view, I welcome these very good technical, professional ideas about infrastructure. But I think if we only focus on infrastructure alone, we may not go far. Because there are wars. There are wars in Congo, there are wars in South Sudan, there are wars in all these different places, Somalia. So how will you have infrastructure if people are fighting for wrong reasons?
The 2026 Central Corridor Stakeholders Committee meeting in Dar es Salaam called on member states to prioritize strategic infrastructure projects, enhance logistics systems, and improve efficiency. At the meeting, it was revealed that the Dar port registered a historic milestone in 2025, handling over 31 million metric tons of cargo. However, the surge in volumes has also exposed persistent challenges, especially in cargo handling and clearance processes.
The 2026 Central Corridor Stakeholders Conference, also known as TACON, is aimed at promoting the utilization of the corridor, a critical trade artery for hinterland countries that depend on the port of Dar es Salaam. Held annually, TACON serves as a key consultative platform under the Central Corridor Transit Transport Facilitation Agency, CCTTFA, bringing together public and private sector players to address trade and transport challenges.
And today, we are happy to report to members that the Central Corridor is viable. The Central Corridor is available for them. The Central Corridor is functional. The Central Corridor is going well than 10 years ago, than 15 years ago. Because currently, I'm saying this because it has been observed the increase of cargo throughput in Dar es Salaam port. Last year we were about 24 million metric tons, but this year we are already at 31 million metric tons. So there is an increase of 7 million metric tons. This demonstrates that the Central Corridor remains a trade corridor of choice. Yes, we deliberated also regarding some matters related to some bottlenecks here and there, which was observed during the survey that the team conducted in the Central Corridor route.
A major highlight of this year's meeting was the presentation of the 2025 Transport Observatory Report. The report indicates improved corridor efficiency, which has contributed to increased cargo throughput.
The trend shows that in 2025, the average ship turnaround time was recorded at 12 days, which you can see it's an increase of 1.2 days from 2024, which was recorded at an average of 13 days. So a component of ship waiting time had a greater impact in 2025 of 65.8%, where this is a marginal decrease. The marginal decrease relative to 2024, the impact of the waiting time. And of course, the marginal decrease is signified a need for more emphasis on improving efficiency and productivity at the port. Actually, this is also one of the indicators that most of the ship owners have been complaining that there is a lot of waiting time. So it's very important, and it's high time to also consider this to make sure that there is an improvement on the ship waiting time.
Despite surpassing the 30 million metric tons mark for the first time, stakeholders raised concerns over persistent non-tariff barriers that continue to hinder seamless trade.
The importers, the exporters and transporters are reluctant currently to put more cargo on this corridor because of the absolute control. So I would invite TPA to be part of the team that is lobbying the Tanzanian government to harmonize on the absolute control so that the importers, the exporters and transporters maximize the use of the corridor. You can imagine if I'm supposed to transport 2,000 tons of copper through Dar es Salaam. Instead of using 50 trucks, I'll be forced to use 56 trucks. Look at that cost. Because of the absolute control.
I think through Chair and ES, you will help us advocate for the ESC members who are denied the licenses of operating as clearing and forwarding companies in Tanzania, because I consider this as the platform, the best platform for us to give out this issue and advocate for us so that the ESC members can have access to work in Tanzania as our member states as ESE, because most of the companies here that have been operating as clearing and forwarding companies are not licensed this year. So kindly advocate for us. Thank you.
Dr. Julius Biaruhanga of the Private Sector Foundation Uganda underscored the importance of complementary transport corridors for land-linked countries like Uganda.
As it stands now with Uganda, we use only about 3.2% of our cargo goes through the Central Corridor, which in our opinion we think is not right. It should be more than that. And essentially that enables flexibility among the private sector players. However, of course, there are those key things that must be done to ensure that we achieve a significant percentage in as far as using the Central Corridor is concerned.
He, however, expressed concern over delays in implementing critical infrastructure projects, citing the Mutukula-Masaka Road as a key example.
You should be able to expedite the projects. You can't take 3, 4, 5 years constructing less than 80 kilometers of a road. It's really, it can't lead us to where we want to be as a country in terms of achieving the 10-fold growth strategy, but also our ports on Lake Victoria. Bukasi is on a standstill. Our port in Jinja is almost unusable.
The conference concluded with a strong call for enhanced collaboration, commitment and accountability among member states to unlock the full potential of regional trade.
Beside the bottlenecks which may or are facing clients while transiting their cargo through Dar es Salaam port, but there are a lot of benefits which we, countries in the region and the Central Corridor can gain, and they're gaining now. So, as it has been said, we need to look on these substantial benefits so that we can optimize what we will gain through our corridor. Of course, as Tanzania Ports and through the Ministry of Transport in Tanzania as a whole, we are working hard to ensure that Dar es Salaam Port is real working as a hub for and a gateway for transport within our region.
Very sad for Burundi cargo that is decreasing. I think Burundi will be the last to move away from the Central Corridor. We have done enough with you. So please, you should make sure that you are bringing back that cargo to Dar es Salaam. Also, the Bagamoyo port is coming. So you can see that there is a bright future in this corridor. The future is very bright.
Please, don't stop to give me cargo. I want more cargo. Zambian, I want your cargo. Don't say that you are sending a lot of cargo here. Remember that some of cargo are liquid, fuel. We are not charging a levy to fuel to avoid it to increase the cost of our business. So what we want much here is the dry cargo. Please bring it to us. DRC, now you are chairing the secretariat. I'm proud of you because your cargo is still increasing to Dar es Salaam port. But don't stop, I want more. And you are a big country. And you are #1 of this corridor. But also with a lot of challenges. So if we need to mitigate those challenges, I need money. So this is what I can say. Burundian brothers, I think my team, Faraji, please come to my office with the list of each country where you have seen that there is a decrease of cargo. So we are going to organize a joint marketing mission with the TPA, with the East African, with the DP World. We are going to meet them to their home countries to discuss together and to see how we can. I want the cargo for Burundi.
How you guys, we Secretariat, we are funding the SGR study between Tanzania, Burundi, DRC, and you can decrease your cargo. How? And your money, as I said here, is what we are investing again to facilitate those studies.
Stakeholders unanimously identified 4 major bottlenecks affecting regional and continental trade, and these are poor interconnectivity, protectionist tendencies, restrictive border procedures, and high air transport costs.
40% of your air ticket is a result of fees, taxes, and levies on using African airspace. That in part explains why most of our airlines are not successful. So why should we be charging ridiculous fees to our African airlines from an African country? So it's cheaper for an African airline to take off from Entebbe to Dubai, to Brussels, to where, than it is from Entebbe to Nairobi or Kigali, which is just 30 minutes away. So we have to liberalize our skies as Africa. We have to work on the interconnectivity by rail, by roads. Europe has done that. The rest is history in terms of intercontinental trade. And also we have to ensure that there is free movement of people.
In more news, Parliament has resolved to increase the annual VAT registration threshold from 150 million to 300 million Uganda shillings. This was after harmonization, as some members of Parliament sought for an increment to 500 million Uganda shillings. This, according to government, will shift focus of tax administration to businesses earning 300 million annually and ease pressures on small and medium-sized enterprises. Daniel Mogoya has the details.
Parliament has passed the Value Added Tax Amendment Bill 2026, which among others increases the turnover amount for any business to register for VAT in Uganda. Apparently, businesses with an annual turnover of 150 million are required to register with Uganda Revenue Authority in case of reclaiming VAT.
From 150 million.
The Parliamentary Committee on Finance, chaired by Amos Kankunda, had agreed with the government position to increase the threshold to 250 million shillings. The majority report presented by MP Karim Masaba had proposed 500 million. The parties harmonized to have the threshold at 300 million.
And I think it's better to go for 300 because our proposal, you didn't provide us with the figures, but according to what you said, we have a net loss as a country.
And this scenario, after analysis, would give us a net revenue of 358.31 billion rather.
The 150 million threshold had stayed since 2015, but contribute to only 3% of the total VAT collected, which hurdles the URA operations.
So if your argument is that you are raising the VAT threshold, it should be beyond just compounding it to bring that value, that past value, into the present value. So for me, the 250 million now is not any different from the threshold in 2015.
Because it will still give us we shall still meet our objective with this proposal.
I put a question that Clause 3 be amended as proposed by...
Another controversial clause in the amendment was a proposal to allow a credit for input tax for a taxable person who develops a hotel for tourism facility and invests at least 10 million for foreigners and 50 million for citizens. This proposal left the Minister of State for Finance in charge of general duties, Henry Musasizi, in jeopardy after the whole House sought to protect the citizens.
We want to maintain focus on the high impact investments. That is why we are saying, let's give this favor to people who can invest 5 million and above.
You cannot put a 20 billion hotel in Vudadiri or at Kapchorwa because the return on investment is very low. The occupancy rate, we have 1.5 million tourists coming into the country. So if you are going to invest a 200-bed hotel...
So what is your amendment?
So my proposal, Chair, I go with the committee report of at least 1.5 million.
The majority report placed 1.5 million threshold for citizens, while the minority introduced two sections of rural and urban investment threshold to 500,000 and 1.5 million USD respectively.
So if we only look at the high-end class, we shall suffocate the low-end class. So we requested the Honorable Minister, look at the committee report, because this is a full committee report.
So I think, in my view, the minister is being unfair to our people. If we are to be fair to our people, we need them to also benefit from this tax credit. We are not giving them free money. We are telling them, if you're constructing this hotel, you can claim back the VAT on construction material of this hotel facility.
The debate, prolonged after the House almost agreed with the position of the majority report to place the threshold at 1.5 million. At this point, Minister Musasizi was disappointed and engaged the Speaker often.
The bottom line is that out of this process, we must get additional money to finance next year's budget.
In the practice of this parliament, if you can't take a decision, you stand over a matter. So if we want further consultation, Madam Chair, I am proposing we deal with other matters.
Honorable, you're not going to
consultation.
advise me what to do.
I am
using
the rule.
Some MPs accused Minister Musasizi of hidden motives, having found no water on his justification to place the threshold of citizens to $5 million.
So would it be transparent and open and even avoid having that demeanor of fear to disclose to this parliament what they are, because he's not even having eye contact. There's something he's hiding. And I want you to repeal on the floor.
The opposition wing also wanted the number of years to claim for the VAT on construction materials to be increased from 2, as proposed, to 10. This was not welcomed after the heated debate. The developers will be able to recover more of the VAT they pay, making it easier and cheaper to invest in large tourism projects and improving the quality of tourism facilities in Uganda. Currently, a hotel developer can only claim VAT on construction costs incurred within 6 months before the hotel opens. Speaker Anita Among maintained the government position of $10 million and $5 million to foreigners and citizens, respectively.
Madam Chair.
Madam Chair.
Daniel Mugoya, Gloria Gutabinji, UBC News.
Still on the floor, I'd given, in my view.
As Uganda gets closer to its first oil production, China National Offshore Oil Corporation has conducted a well control emergency drill exhibition at Kingfisher Oil Field in Chikube District. The well control emergency drill is aimed at strengthening safety and response ahead of oil production in the second half of this year. We have a report.
The well control emergency drill at Kingfisher Oil Field in Chikube District tested firefighting preparedness, high temperature melting and cutting, wellhead reconstruction, among others. As Chinese National Offshore Oil Corporation's first well control emergency drill, it fills the gap in the capacity base of the unit and provides solid safety support to energy.
The use of this drill is to help us prepare in case of an emergency and also test the equipment. So Sinok Uganda Limited purchased equipment to use in case of any well control incident or any emergency. So this drill helps train first of all the national staff, the Ugandans that operate this equipment, how to use the equipment, and also test the equipment if it is fit for purpose.
Today this base is fully operational, equipped with specialized emergency equipment and staffed by a joint team of Ugandan and Chinese professionals working by side.
Such demonstrations, according to partners in the energy sector, are a clear indication that the country is set for its first oil production and CNOOC's possession of the right equipment to control damage at the oil field.
We have not only established the first overseas well control emergency base in Uganda, but have also forged emergency response area team composed of both Chinese and Uganda professionals.
That exercise exhibited the sector's readiness in terms of equipment, coordination, response times, and strengthened the sector's emergency preparedness as we prepare for first oil. I think we have witnessed the same in this case.
The Minister of Energy and Mineral Development committed in ensuring that the first oil is produced safely and sustainably.
This drill speaks directly to Uganda's broader objective of achieving first oil responsibly. First oil must not be understood only as a scheduled milestone. It must also mean first oil under conditions of discipline, compliance, preparedness, and public confidence.
Since inception of its official operations in August 2025, the Uganda Well Control Emergency Rescue Base has 48 sets of emergency equipment covering 6 categories and 15 items, enabling capabilities including personal security and on-site investigation.
The Mungufeni Foundation is transforming lives in the West Nile region through empowering youth with life skills. Through skills like weaving, knitting, sewing, and driving, among others, the foundation seeks to curb poverty in the region through creating sustainable employment opportunities. Take a look.
As we know, an idle mind is a devil's workshop. When a brain is idle, it can easily go into prostitution, can go into stealing, becoming a community nuisance, and getting into antisocial behaviors. So us skilling them this way and empowering them is definitely a way of improving their lifestyle. And from this, they are not only the direct beneficiaries. From one person, you will realize there are over 10 people benefiting. Meaning from here, we are improving economy of the country and the economic well-being also. So from this, we're looking at them being better people after here. And also in any case, skilling others as well. Because there are some of these from the first cohort and the second cohorts that we trained here. Some of them are right now employed. They're also skilling others in refugee camps. You know, Arua is near the borders of South Sudan and the Eastern Congo. And some of these countries are unstable, unlike our country, Uganda, which is very peaceful.
Remittances, ladies and gentlemen, are not merely statistics. Let me emphasize this point. They represent sacrifices our Ugandans have lived, those who may not have seen our diaspora people, how they are suffering out there in the diaspora. I have been there. I have worked with them. I have been one of them, working in London toilets. You all know my story. And digging graves in London and so on, where I made a lot of money. Those who are just thieves here stealing money of the government. Some of us have worked for this money and we are what we are because of hard work. So I know what diaspora means immediately. It's not a statistic, it is a lifeline. So we work for this money. I worked in London, everywhere. Me, I was working, I think, I had, those who understand London very well, I had London, Warwick, Coventry, Birmingham. I had that corridor, and I was cleaning those roads, digging those graves, working in those hotels, and I came here with the point. You look at me.
Now that wraps up our show, but before we go, we'd like to leave you with this. Every business you admire started exactly where you are now. Unsure, under-resourced, and out of time. But they kept showing up. So keep showing up. It compounds. Thank you for watching. I'm your host, Moureen Babirye. Now go build.